Have you ever pondered what it would be like to converse with a man who claimed to know nothing, yet changed the course of Western thought forever? Imagine a man named Socrates, born in the 5th century BC in Athens, Greece. He was not a typical philosopher. In fact, he didn't write down a single word of his teachings. His wisdom was shared through conversations, questioning the beliefs and knowledge of others, and challenging societal norms. Socrates was a unique individual, a man who stood out in the crowd. He was known for his wit, his irony, and most importantly, his relentless pursuit of truth. This pursuit led him to a profound conclusion, which he famously declared, "The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing." A paradox, a profound humility, and a radical approach to wisdom that turned the philosophical world on its head. This humble cobbler's son from Athens would go on to lay the foundations of Western philosophy. Imagine a method of inquiry where the key is not to inform, but to question and stimulate critical thinking. This was the Socratic Method. This radical approach to knowledge, pioneered by Socrates, was a game-changer. It was all about questioning everything, seeking truth through dialogue, and never settling for superficial answers. Take, for instance, the conversation between Socrates and Euthyphro, where Socrates probes into the nature of piety. He doesn't provide answers, but rather, through a series of questions, he unravels Euthyphro's contradictory beliefs. This method, known as the elenchus, was Socrates' signature move, a strategic process of inquiry that exposed the inconsistencies in one's beliefs. The Socratic Method, an intellectual tour de force, was not about winning arguments. Instead, it was about fostering deep, thoughtful, and critical engagement with the world. Through this method, Socrates encouraged people to question their assumptions and beliefs, a practice that is still central to philosophical inquiry today. How far would you go to defend your beliefs? For Socrates, it was all the way to his death. In 399 BC, Socrates, the gadfly of Athens, was put on trial for refusing to renounce his philosophical inquiries. Accused of impiety and corrupting the youth, he stood before a jury of his peers, unyielding and unbowed. In his defense, Socrates famously declared, "An unexamined life is not worth living." He chose the pursuit of truth over his own life. Despite the option to escape, Socrates accepted his death sentence, demonstrating an unwavering commitment to his principles. His last moments were spent in a philosophical discourse with his friends, his spirit undimmed. His final words, "Crito, we owe a cock to Asclepius. Pay it and do not neglect it," spoke volumes about his view of death as a cure for the illness of life. In death, Socrates became a martyr for philosophy, embodying the pursuit of truth above all else. From the ashes of Socrates rose Plato, his most famous student, carrying forward the legacy of his mentor. Plato was deeply affected by Socrates' untimely death and dedicated his life to preserving and expanding upon Socratic teachings. The profound influence of Socrates on Plato is evident in the latter's works, where he often used his mentor as a character to articulate his philosophical ideas. One of the most significant aspects of this influence was the Socratic method of inquiry, or elenchus, which became a key element in Platonic dialogues. This method, characterized by rigorous questioning to expose contradictions in one's beliefs and promote critical thinking, was revolutionary. It became a cornerstone of Western philosophical thought, influencing not just Plato, but generations of philosophers who followed. Aristotle, Descartes, and Kant, to name a few, all drew upon the Socratic tradition in their work, demonstrating the enduring power and relevance of Socratic philosophy. Socrates' influence on Plato marked the beginning of a philosophical lineage that would shape Western thought for centuries to come. The legacy of Socrates extends far beyond his life and his students. His influence pervades every aspect of Western philosophy. He didn't pen any treatises or books, yet his philosophical ideas, relayed through the works of his illustrious students, have shaped the course of human thought. In ethics, Socrates introduced the concept of moral integrity, advocating for the pursuit of virtue over material wealth. He believed that knowledge and goodness were inseparably intertwined, and that the morally upright life was the most fulfilling one. In epistemology, he pioneered a method of inquiry that sought to unearth the truth by rigorous questioning, laying the groundwork for critical thinking. His method, known as elenchus, is the bedrock of modern scientific inquiry and legal cross-examination. In logic, Socrates developed the method of induction, a process of reasoning that forms the backbone of scientific discovery and mathematical proof. Socrates, the man who claimed to know nothing, left us with a philosophical legacy that continues to enlighten us today.